What up, Swedes? Welcome back to Valoranting, a professional ranting show. I'm Mitch Leslie, joined by Vanity and Valley looking imperious, my guy. What's up, man? You've been like a Shaolin temple for the last week, man.
I'm living life, man. But wait up. First off, Uber, I got to do this. You always start every show welcoming us. You welcome me. You welcome Vanity. Let's flip this around, man. I was watching some Valorant yesterday, and I heard a sexy, beautiful accent on the mic. And Vanity, I don't know if it was just me, but it sounded a lot like Uber, man. Did Uber finally get his shot at casting?
I think so, but I like to focus more on the fact that you've wasted all your money on that Versace bathrobe than your TV stand in the back of the background there. But yeah, Mitch fucking killed it yesterday. It was beautiful to listen to. Great job with Jordan, and glad to have you finally fucking casting some Valorant, Mitch. Good job.
It was so good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was fun.
It was fun.
It
was fun.
It turns out you fucking get what you pay for. I mean, I don't know what I've been telling people this shit the whole time, but it was fun, man.
Truth.
Shout out to Nothing, because that guy's a gigabrain, and we actually had to go into. Okay, I'll give you a side story. We actually had to go into his stream to tell him it was his call time, and he had to rehearse. he was 7 to 3 on bind, pushing up like short A, and I get in his chat like, "Yo, Jordan, you're in need of the rehearsal now."
That's
bro. He's
hilarious.
like, "Oh crap!" And he just leaves the game. Like, credit to the guy. He didn't like play it out or anything. He just fucking left.
It was a great game nonetheless. But man, it was good to finally have you on board. But Uber, to answer your question, man, I'm feeling good. I missed last week. We know our teams from Masters now, and that shit is exciting to me. I can't wait to break that down.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about that today. Obviously, there's some developer updates. We have a fantastic interview lined up, which I'm really looking forward to, because Vanity's a fantastic personality and already has made his mark, I think, in terms of the meme trade in North. I'm pretty sure he started the Sentinels copy pasta about being done with them. So I'm not so sure, but we'll get to that in a second. Also, exciting news. This is, I'm getting emotional, but we finally have a YouTube URL for the show. youtube.com/Valoranting. So you can find us there, and you can find the archives of us just losing our minds over random stuff.
We're always
That's where you can find it all.
We're always seen here on Valorant.
Yeah, and you can subscribe to see Vanity wear a different space station gaming piece of merch every single day.
Hey, at least it's no hat today, right? At least it's no hat today. I told myself I'll be honest with my hair. Didn't even do my hair either, so I just look like that guy from The Fifth Element. The evil dude.
Perfect.
You look beautiful.
We're also going to do something a little bit new. No, it's not new. We do it every week, actually. But we're going to delve into the rumor mill and see what we can come up with. Chat, you can also assist. We're going to be using you to fuel the fires of speculation here. Okay, this is going to be our own little video version of the Valorant Reddit. So we're going to be looking forward to having you along. Let's dive in. Patch notes, baby, because if you're watching VCT the last weekend, not only, of course, did you get to see myself, but also you would have seen us still playing with stingers and frenzies every fucking round. Well, 2.03 brings changes to all of those weapons, a buff to the Marshall, and then some updates to, it's a minor tweak, I think, to Brimstone and Phoenix, but I think the Reyna changes definitely are of interest to many of us. Let's start with the guns, though. Marshall, first of all, price decrease, zoom magnification increase, and they can move at 90% of your normal speed when zoomed.
Pretty crazy, actually. That means your jiggle peaks with the Marshall is going to be a lot more advantageous. And when you have a nerf from a Stinger that doesn't do as much damage on that long range, for that second round force buy could definitely be doable, right? You've decreased the price too. So it'll be fun to watch how that develops.
I really like the fact, in Vance, you coming from Counter-Strike, the Marshall, the Scalp, whatever it is in Counter-Strike, that play is really exciting. Now that we might get that type of variety in Valorant, that's going to be sexy. We saw some Marshall play in the VCT not too long ago, right? Like yesterday, I think, where someone was popping off with it, and it was really fun. So I like the fact that that is another gun that's going to be added to our arsenal.
I mean, you guys saw there the Stinger changes, right? So obviously the spread increased, and now it kicks like a Bronco, especially at long range. So I think
that's important.
So a lot of players have said this doesn't really address like the issue itself. I think like what a lot of players, okay, some players, not all, have an issue with is the fact that you can run and gun. But we kind of talked about this last week, right? The framing of this particular strategy now, and Riot want to make it more specific. It's like if you want to run and gun, you have to deal with extreme recoil and high spread. So you need to be probably closer to your foe here. They still want to make it viable. Thanks for bringing this back up again. So the fire rate gets reduced at full auto, and the spread is maximum after the 4th bullet, not the 6th. So you're getting max spread quickly, and you have it picking up on you. So that's 3 things you sort of need to try and counteract. And you know, we should hope that we don't see too much like cross map stinger play. Round 2 has just been a nightmare in a lot of games, or round 2 of the half. Just because it ends up being its own pistol round, because being able to force stingers and frenzies kind of puts you on even footing with the opponents. And we've seen some teams try and force like they win the first round and they buy Vandals round 2 just to try and deal with it, and they still get rolled at long range across the map by stingers. So hopefully this works.
And the other thing that's important to note on those patch notes is the ADS, right? The kick on the verticality of the stinger has also been nerfed, which means like you won't have that play where Nitro is in the tube and aiming down the sight and getting 3 headshots in one shot. So you really have to actually get much closer in your battles and really choose better positioning on your stinger position. So I think it's still a good nerf, and I think it's a good balance to still enable the run and guns, because you also don't want to eliminate the SMGs from the game by nerfing it too much.
I agree with him.
It mentioned Pat in the chat mentions as well. Wardell was like a prolific scout player. Remember, like he always used to in Counter-Strike, like he just used to buy the scout all the fucking time.
Yep.
Yeah, he loved it. Now, so that's, there was concern about like the operator getting into people like Wardell's hands a little bit later in the picture because the price got increased, and everyone's like, that's fine, he can rifle as well as any of them. Like I just hear Taylor's voice in my head. But I mean, he sounds much more attractive than that. Sorry, but now at least there's an alternative that Wardell can pick up the Marshall and maybe feel a bit more impactful. For example,
it's a 2-hit kill anyways, right? One hit if you don't have armor.
In the face, I think it's 1-on-1
in the head.
Yeah. Okay. In the face, I think it's a 1-on-1. So no armor, it'll get a kill. But also, you're starting to see a little bit more Guardians being used as well, right? So overall, I think like those half buys with the Marshals, adding the Guardian for like the assist kills for the 1-taps, it's going to be very interesting for the development of the meta coming into this next qualifiers.
Yeah, and very quickly before we move on to the agents, I also think that people are underestimating the penetration ability of the Giggity. But the penetration ability of the Guardian.
Oh, yeah.
Just because we see it a bunch on Icebox as well. People just getting banged out through the B site by their Guardian play. So we'll keep an eye on that. But agents, let's talk about Reyna, because she probably receives the most significant change here, which is, it's been said, it's a buff and a nerf depending on the level of play.
Yeah. Why are you saying buff, Ellie?
It's a buff. It's a buff on every level of play. You know why? Because of the simple fact that before, if you guys don't know, if you guys are new tuning in to Valorant, right? Reyna had to finish the kill in order to get that orb to either, devour or dismiss. Now she can just assist and still get that orb. The fact that that's there. Now, the thing about Reyna that we always poke fun at in ranked games and, lower tier level of professional gameplay is that she is only good after she gets a kill. And if you don't get a kill, you're shit out of luck, right? Now she doesn't even have to get a kill. She can contribute to games and be game-changing just by putting in 1 or 2 shots. That is incredible. Yes, you minimize the amount of dismiss and devour that she's able to use, but still, how many of those do you actually need around for a play after the kill? Exactly. Yeah. Not 4. 2 is enough. She's still a game changer, but she's even better now.
That's right. You need a minimum of 50 damage for you to be able to get an assist. So that means the orb comes out there. If you even look at the cost, that increases from 100 to 200. Overall, it still comes to the same price as how much you have to spend for your Devour and your Dismiss orbs, because you've been reduced from 4 to 2. So your economy overall with Reyna doesn't change. Getting the assist on the to get the orbs is a big thing, especially for information and trades. I think it's still pretty good at the pro level. Just that, it's just the fact that you might have less, and that's it. But I think it could still be very viable. Maybe some players would use it less, but something like Shot Up, I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps using him. Shot Up and Thief.
Yeah, key term that Van said. I'm so sorry. Key term that Van said, the economy does not change. But go ahead, Uber.
I think Reyna is normally the second swing as well in a lot of the setups. So this ordinarily, because you want the Reyna to not die if you're trying to swing her in a trade situation so she can get the orb. Now, even if your first swing actually gets the kill, Reyna can still dismiss or even devour and push up here. So this actually, this actually makes things a lot handier because rarely do we really see Reyna play on her own because the risk of her dying before she can get any sort of reset is sometimes too great. And also the Lear is just really poor to create entry opportunities on its own.
Yep.
It's only a near sight, right? There's no smoke. There's no real flash. Like, it's not a true flash in that sense. So we don't see Reyna play solo. So this is only a buff for her. And maybe at like lower levels of play where there's less coordination, she feels weaker because she doesn't have as many charges of this ability, or it's more expensive to play, like to buy these charges. But you know, I don't really think we've seen too many situations of Reyna sort of dismissing 4 times, and even if she 1v5s, she's not using every soul orb in that case anyway.
Only scary one was like pistol devour 2 orbs at the same time. You're just sitting there being a turret and shooting. So that was pretty overpowered at that point. So now at least after 2, you can be a little bit weaker now on a push against you.
Want to know how ridiculous Reyna was? I'm thinking about it right now. Every time you watch a Reyna play, especially in ranked, literally after they get a few kills, I would see Reyna's pull in 3 orbs to give her health, and it's like that is so fucking unnecessary. Like nerf that shit. So yeah, I think 2 is definitely enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vans, you bring up a good point. Reyna on pistols is fucked now.
Yeah.
That is so scary because you only need 50 damage, right? So, and you're playing like you're using a classic or maybe a ghost in the future, right? So that I think she's more impactful in that round, but it also, again, those are more expensive to buy. If you want 2 charges, you're spending $400, and you have a classic or
a ghost,
or you're a raid boss and someone buys you a frenzy or something like that, right? Because now you can't buy frenzy armor or whatever. So there's like this dynamic where, you know, maybe like in Counter-Strike, right? You used to have someone with like a Tech 9 and full armor, and you just sort of invested in them heavily, which is fun. I don't know. I like that in terms of commentary to sort of see the investment in the player and how it all works. It's like forcing around like a rifle that was saved from a previous round.
Honestly, for casting, it's going to be a lot more fun looking at pistol round and Reyna and stuff like that too, with all the changes that are happening. It's just not going to be like 8 frenzy meta and you're just sitting there seeing, okay, who's going to get the upper hand from all the downs in the RNG. So I'm hoping that we're going to see the ghost come back, the classic come back into play, and then see what happens. I know I went back on our notes here, but I really want to mention that as well.
That's fine, baby.
I want the one taps, you know. I want
exactly,
them, I want
man.
the ghosts.
It's way more beautiful to cast.
I enjoyed the USPS in Counter-Strike for the same reason, right? Like people just getting freaking their bells rung across the map.
And then a dink sound.
Yep. So satisfying. Okay, Yoru gets changed as well. I think that Riot are trying to position Yoru as a more attractive option just by affecting how some of these abilities work. So it's the quality of life updates essentially. Yoru can see his minimap now and eventually. I don't know why they prevented him from being able to sort of see that. And you can also, he's also able to send that information to his allies by, it brings up the enemies on their minimaps as well. Also, the body block, which was really weird, right?
Yeah.
That was hilarious, actually. I love the body blocks.
Yeah, I guess that's just a weird interaction. Maybe it's the kind of thing that you don't really.
They should have kept it in the game. Keep it in the game. Think about it. That would be like the most fun meta ever. Can you imagine that happening on main stage for $1 million? Like the last round.
I mean, like you joke about that.
That's big brain.
You joke about that, but I was casting a World of Tanks grand final where there was someone got stuck in the map in the grand final in the final round, and it actually decided it. Like that stuff is it's messed up.
Imagine that though. He ults at the entrance of B. So he ults at the entrance of B and blocks the guy rotating from spawn when the spike is fucking ticking.
I like it. Honestly, I think that it's game changing. It'll be the only type of game with that type of attribute, right? Like Yoru. And the thing is, it's high risk, high reward, because what if it doesn't work and your teammate doesn't come to get the kill? Then you come out of your void and then you're easily killed. Keep it in the game. I actually think it's hilarious. And if used right, yes, high risk, high reward. But if used wrong, then we just laugh at the idiot.
Yeah.
Overall, now that it doesn't exist anymore, I still find that Yoru is in a place where he might need a little bit more. At least this is from my rank experience. We haven't seen it yet into tournament play. That's only going to start coming, I think, next week, right? Because it takes 2 weeks on these changes from the old patch. So the next open qualifier will have a chance. But based on my rank experience, I think people still have a hard time playing that agent right now. The tether sound is still loud enough so that you kind of know where he's coming from.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter from your point of view about the range of how much they could hear you from, because if you're a smart player, you would kind of know when you should come out into your tether from the teleporter.
Yeah.
And then in the end, I do like the ult though. That's a big change. That's a big change.
I mean,
to
I
help
just
your
don't know
team.
why you just
it's
yeah.
fine.
Maybe for flavor, it makes sense that you can't see the minimap because you're in a different dimension. But bruh, come on. Yeah, I think like we didn't really touch on this, but gate crash obviously is probably a little bit easier now. Not so much to use, but to understand like whether your opponents are actually aware of what you're doing. Because so much of what Yoru does depends on you understanding whether an opponent has perceived your fake footsteps or if they know where your gate crash is, right?
Yep.
If you think your opponent knows where your gate crash is, then you're using it to bait.
Yes.
If you don't think they know where it is, you might actually use it to reposition. And so the sound that it makes, now you can be more aware of the radii of when people can sort of hear that. So that is an important quality of life update because it allows you to actually have a deeper understanding of what impression that you have created with Yoru, who is all about misdirection. So I think that's important, and yeah, we
he's not alone on that. That's the important part about that, though. I think that's Yoru is gonna have to. Yoru won't be a great agent until we figure out a meta that's gonna work for him. I think that we're way too young in the game to utilize teamwork and agent synergy in order to make a player like Yoru work. Yoru will be successful with agent synergy, and that's it, in my opinion. So we're way too young in the series for that.
Shout out to Shanks for trying it, though.
Yeah, the only agent I could imagine him replacing right now is like it's the sky slot on some of these sort of compositions, but Yoru doesn't really do anything to safely gain information, and his flashes are not that good. So it's really hard to see like where he slots in. Like as an off duelist, I'd be very surprised because you're gonna have Jet and Phoenix a lot of the time, Reyna in some cases. Like where does he fit in there?
Yeah, when you first heard about the Yoru coming out, it was mainly the Sentinels players that were really not like the Sentinel team, but people that play Sentinel agents like Steel, Dapper, maybe even Brax is like, oh, this playstyle kind of fits what I want to do as that lurk role. But now you start to realize that the Sentinel is still very important in your composition on certain maps. But the other one is that the kit is not good enough for you to be able to do that type of lurk play that you want. Because the tether maybe could help. I think it's more to back pace than trying to get into the back of the enemy lines. But you still need a lot of time. I think right now the skill level is still very high. The skill ceiling is still very high for this Yoru, where no pro even has made it up to that point yet.
Yeah, I think, why the hell would I use dimensional drift to go and find out where the enemies are, where I could fucking hit the button as Cypher and get told where they are?
Or like throw cabbages at Sky, or fucking throw a Sova dart. Yeah, exactly.
What are they? Jellyfish, right? They're jellyfish, yeah?
The cabbage, flying cabbage, man.
Looks like some fucking Cthulhu-looking shit.
Listen, man, she's in the forest. What's in the forest? We got foxes, we got birds, and we got cabbages.
Now,
you have cabbages in the forest?
We don't have fucking jellyfishes in the forest.
So the reason for that, I'm pretty sure, is that one of Australia's sort of claims to fame is the Great Barrier Reef, and Sky's a conservationist, so I'm pretty sure it has something to do with that. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, we don't have any cabbages in the Great Barrier Reef. So we just have a lot of fucking tourists, a lot of those, that's for sure. Meatballs, I like that one. Yeah, I mean, it's wrong. Whatever it is, because it's all translucent. Okay, you know what? We're getting off topic. We're doing a watch party today.
Yeah, true. Let's move on.
We're watching VCT together, so we need to actually get this show done before that starts.
We almost did it.
Let's move. Oh yeah, they changed some stuff with like the sound of fire, but you only care about that if you're bad, and we already told Belly, so we can move on. Let's go to the rumor mill, everybody. It's time. Let's sort of discuss some of the less confirmed goings on in the scene. First of all, where the heck? All right, guys, let's put our heads together. Where are Brax and AZK going? It got leaked, right? Didn't Halo? Was it a Halo Thoughts who said he knew where they were going?
I thought we already had. I love Halo Thoughts, but I think we already had comments about Halo Thoughts reports where they're always like,
hey, he got like 97% of them right for Overwatch. So
but the thing is, even earlier on in Valorant, he wasn't wrong. He actually hit some points. Now, for him to have that type of success and fell on a few, I mean, shit happens.
I mean, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take when Gretzky fucking.
Okay, yeah. But look, listen. All right, so it's pretty cool to
love
like
it.
to get annoyed at like journalists and stuff because people get mad when they end up being wrong. But like
Yes.
I know you can't just discount it just because it was in a different game. Like regardless of what you feel about Overwatch, he had a really high hit rate
Yes.
in Overwatch in terms of what he sort of found out. So maybe he doesn't have the same level of connections in Valorant.
Possibly.
He's sliding in DMs everywhere.
Possibly.
What do we know? I know I've heard one thing. I've heard one thing that kind of makes me suspicious, but
What is it?
I'll let you go. Well, okay. I
Yeah,
was
you go.
watching the Immortal Minds podcast.
Okay.
Fantastic podcast, by the
Yes,
way.
always.
Really, I watch it every week. I think it's great. And basically, like they start discussing it, and they're like, "What are Braxton ACK doing?" And Puckett and Dan are like, "I don't know." And then Taylor's like, I mean, I know where they're going, so I can't really
Shut the
talk
fuck
about
up.
it. Yeah. And then Psycho, coach of X, says like, I don't know where they're going. So I was like, wait, why the fuck? Okay, so it's not exactly like this is something widely known to all the coaches. I didn't know if Taylor was necessarily really very close with Braxton AZK, but I was like, why the fuck do you know this?
Like, I think
Wow.
it makes sense that in the pro scene, people are going to start to know where they might go because when you have to practice, when you have to try out, you have to do it in a scrim environment. So it's natural that these teams kind of know potentially where Braxton AZK could end up. So maybe Taylor knows. My hot take is that they might join Beast Coast or they might join Nbox for me. Only
Wait,
reason
you think
why
East Coast? Really?
Yeah, because Beast Coast and Nbox are two teams currently that are looking for at least one player. And when Rebo joined Nbox, he was like a coach / IGL. But I'm thinking more about the management / coach position where you have Fraud in Beast Coast and you have Warden in Nbox. And all those 4 players, Brax, AZK, Warden, and Fraud, were connected at one time through Complexity. Back in the days, whether it's same game or different game. So I think there is that chemistry there, and there's that brotherhood where I think they might end up on those teams. That's my hot take for those.
I would like to see them go to Andbox. I think for the simple fact that Andbox, I mean, listen, not dissing any of the players, but let's be real. At the end of the day, Brax is Brax and AZK is AZK. There's 2 roles that I think that they could definitely upgrade on those teams, right? But also, that raises another question. If that was a potential landing spot, what does that team even look like without Android now? And then to go even further than that, like when we're talking about these other teams like Beast Coast and whatnot, does Brax and AZK, like what level of team are they looking for? Are they looking for a challenger to that throne spot? Or are they looking to just compete? Those are the biggest questions. And I don't think they just want to compete. They're way too fucking good for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so yeah, I like some of what we're hearing in chat.
Like
is there any world where like there's like a return to complexity? Where like Brax and AZK, because I mean this complexity team, I mean, you know what Jason Lake's like? He's like, yo, he'll just like straight up tweet that he's firing all these players if they lose a game. You know what I mean? Like
I remember that tweet.
Yeah, I mean that's not exactly
built the juggernaut.
It was the Colossus. So I mean that team has just not really looked good. I think that there are a couple of honestly really solid players on Complexity's roster right now. I just think that they are tier 3 as fuck. They're quite behind the 8 ball. I don't know. Like I don't know if you put Braxton AZK in there though, if that really sort of transforms the team. It's probably quite likely that they want to join a team that already has a fairly strong
That's what I'm thinking too.
That's the way I see it.
And then LBJ 230111 was saying in chat, there's rumors that CLG wants to enter the scene. Makes sense, but also the rumor that I was reading when people were talking about that was like, oh, maybe it's gonna be those 2 and then tens and then blah blah blah. It's like, yo, that payroll is starting to get way too fucking high. I think for CLG's pay grade.
There's too many cooks in that fucking kitchen, dude.
Okay, so I don't watch the league. I don't know about the background of orgs and all that. CLG, apparently they got money. I know they're in the LCS and all that. I'm just gonna say, like, Twitch Rivals is coming up, and Tims is still going hard in Valorant, man. Tims is still going hard in Valorant. He still plays. And there is actually a realistic scenario where if they wake up in 1-2 one day, Brax and AZK are free agents, so is Tims. And even if Ace wants to get his fucking hands in the game, he can too. Yo, there's a lot of good play. What you making that face for, Mitch?
Because because Brax just moved right to playing the jet role as well, and he's gonna fucking play
back. You can move back. It's like riding a bike. And we're talking about Brax here. This ain't a one-trick pony. Uber, This is the prodigy, baby.
That's why I think Andbox would be great.
Andbox would be perfect for him. Yes. Yo, I'm telling you, man. Andbox with Brax and AZK, I think would be good. Andbox, in my opinion, when XSET was on the uprise, it wasn't just XSET and LG alone. Andbox was neck and neck with him. Okay. And then, go ahead.
They need 2 players right now for Andbox.
They do. It's perfect. Match made in heaven, in my opinion.
Okay, but here's my question. I think Android ends up leaving the team because he gets an offer from NRG that Andbox can't match. So what the fuck makes you think that Andbox can offer Brax and AZK something that's enough to entice them? Like, I don't think Android leaves Andbox for any other reason other than, fucking
money.
Hector just fucking whips it out on the table. He's like, here's the fucking cash, boy. Like, Android is an incredibly good player, and he's the kind of guy you spend that fucking money on. And NRG haven't had the results they've been looking for so far. So can you? What does it take to entice a duo like Brax and AZK? Is it the prospect of victory? Is it getting fucking paid in the short term? Like, there's, I'm very curious as to what makes those two tick.
You think both?
I think both, man. You look at the value of Brax and AZK is like, yes, they are very good, but if you look overall of what have they accomplished in T1 wasn't that much. So yes, they could be worth a lot, but can they be worth that much compared to somebody like a superstar like Android for Andbox or a superstar like Tens coming into the team? I think there's good value, especially when they want to come as like a package deal where there's a potential with the roster with Andbox to look pretty good and have great success from the get-go. I think they might even be able to negotiate a lesser rate for those or contract for those 2 players.
Okay, so tell me what's the roster in Andbox then with these 2? Ooh. Who gets shafted then for Brax and AZK?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you already have Android that's gone. So then a great fit from Duelist to Duelist is Brax to Android spot. Yep. And then the other one that was signed is Rebo into Andbox, but Rebo joined as a IGL/coach. So there's still a possibility that Rebo becomes a co-coach with or analyst with Warden.
I think we're getting warm.
While you have somebody. Sorry.
You see what Rebo plays, right? He plays that Cypher role. My man's on site, baby. So I mean,
and Brax could also play Cypher.
There we go.
If they need to. And AZK is a great support player. Maybe they're going to be the type of lineup that needs that type of, for example, the breach. That's going to be like okay. Yaster could also opt, by the way, as a jet. He plays split as breach. So now when you're able to have Yaster opt as a jet now on split, but one of their best maps, and you have a great player as AZK that's able to support as a breach because he's done it in T1, that flash and dash playstyle finally for split for Andbox could work in their favor. So that's more pieces that kind of starts making sense the more that I think about it, right? So
you know what? I actually like that. Put Brax on the Duelist outside of Jet. But AZK on that support role. God damn. And to answer your question, Uber, I had this conversation with Moses on here before when we were talking about Skadizi, right? Skadoodle. He was like,
Daddy,
let's give him as many.
Daddy. So the conversation was, he competed already. He's done this and that. He's gonna go back to streaming. It's less stressful. I'm like, no, I used to be a pro player, and there's one thing every pro player can say that didn't make it to the top, or made it to the. It doesn't matter. There's one thing every pro player always says when they're done: they miss competing. They want to make it to the top. I miss competing. I still want to make it to the top, but I'm washed up, so that's why I commentate, right? Brax is a prodigy. Brax been on failed. Brax has been on failed projects ever since this game released. You know what? You said, does he want money or the victory? Victory brings money. And you know what? At the end of the day, knowing someone like Brax, I know what type of person he is. That man is still going to compete. I hope he still competes. It's a disservice to the entire scene. He doesn't, right?
What the fuck else is he gonna do?
And he's gonna win a championship level roster. That's what
guy was banned from CS and was still grinding the game.
I know he still wants to win. So I would be highly disappointed if wherever he lands is an average fucking roster. He needs to be on a championship caliber team because I think that he can win a few championships in this game. So I can see him going to a team like Andbox. I would love to see them remix that FaZe roster as well. Even though we poked fun with FaZe, and I heard that. There's still some talent on that team.
Yeah, but I think that's trying to mix water and oil a little bit. That's what that kind of feels like. I mean, we can talk about FaZe a little bit
Shaq
later
and Kobe won championships, baby. Listen, at the end of the day, a win is a win. You gotta think smart. The world is ending soon. You better get those championship dollars while you can.
You think Cloud9 are looking at any of these players and looking at their?
No, quiet. I think they're good.
They just picked up Doink Machine, man. So that's going to be like a great 6-man to have.
To replace tins like that, they're going to give it time. This isn't going to be like a 1 month, 2 month project. This is a long-term decision they made, because if they wanted to win now, the roster would look totally different. I'll put money on that.
If I'm Brax, I'm sick of like joining a team. I'm sick of joining a startup roster. You know what I mean? I want to see
exactly.
I want a fucking CEO position with full pension package at this point. Like, I ain't trying to get in on the ground floor anymore. You know what I mean? You know I'm fucking frag it out. You know I'm a beast.
And that's the money. Nbox is at the point where they're at that conversation where they're almost at a tier 1. They're starting to be able to put some good fights against those teams. So I think this would be a great addition. And as you were mentioning FaZe here, Veli, I think that's where something like Poach, who unfortunately got cut from Nbox, could maybe end up, because let's try to think of any teams that's currently looking for an IGL in the top tier level.
Potential.
I can't think of any right now, but I think that Poach could definitely be a good coach to help out a team like FaZe with the roster that they have.
I'm with you on that.
Let's move on a little bit here. We can talk about NRG very quickly. Do you think Android is replacing Infinite? Because there was some shit that came up with Infinite. Turns out the guy's got a bit of a mouth on him. I can respect that, but yeah. Okay, so first of all, he obviously mentions that he's going to have surgery. So he seems like the most immediate player to be benched for this. Seems like a legitimate reason, but just keep this. I want you to keep this up, this screenshot. Look at the bottom right-hand corner. Does anyone recognize what that is?
Twitter.com/infinite1CS.
No. The bottom left,
what is
the
that?
the bottom left corner of the screenshot.
Is that like a second tweet you're going to add on, but you...
No. That icon implies that there are replies to this tweet that have been hidden by the tweet author.
Oh.
If you go to this tweet, you will see screenshots posted time and time again on the same thread of this guy in someone's chat talking some proper smack.
Oh,
so the kind of smack that does not make you any friends. It does not make your org particularly happy with you. I know who runs this NRG outfit. I know them pretty well, actually.
They don't play.
Let's just say that, Infinite definitely wouldn't have impressed the higher-ups with that particular outburst of behavior. You can go find out for yourself. I don't think you'll have any problems if you are a discerning individual who wants to know it, but he is currently getting rinsed out a little bit for that behavior. So we'll see what the result. I mean, the org's been very quiet on it. To make it clear, I don't believe there was anything that was like scandalous.
He was talking shit.
Contract termination. It was just like, okay, bro, you're on like a tier 2 team. You're talking that kind of shit. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Rico impacted it.
Let's very quickly. This Poach leaving Nbox is leaving. He's listed as a sub right now, but you know how it goes. We don't know why, and I think we tried to find out, and we got a no comment. Yeah. So, can we shed any extra light on that, because everyone has their own opinion about why Poach leaves his team, and some people believe it's performance based. But then if you read recently an interview with We Did, he's like, I actually really look up to Poach as a player. I think what he's able to do, especially in how he's integrating Viper into their lineups, is something that I find quite aspirational. So I think that, as far as I can tell, Poach is still a quite respected player by his peers. So there's something there, something brewing. A couple of these teams, man, there's something brewing. I want people to start fucking publishing their memoirs, or at least come on the show. And
Shuffle is gonna come. Masters is here already. It's gonna be a shit show. I can't wait.
All right, let's move on. Here's some more interesting news. We've had some interesting behavior from orgs in the last few months in Valorant. I mean, this happens in every sort of early or young esports scene where people get, frankly, taken advantage of. Usually these people are dumb or naive or just unlucky. In this situation, an org has risen from the ashes. An org by the name of Phoenix One. And this bloke Menace here, I mean, I'll be honest with you, looking at the guy, looks like he's probably not been scammed too many times before, probably pretty trusting. They've been sort of scammed out of a bunch of money from tournaments that they've played. They don't really know sort of what's going on here. The King talks to this bloke Ryan. So Ryan is representing the owners of Phoenix One, and he's implying that he's the CFO, but he needs to have capital lent to him to pay the players, and here I love this. This is fucking sick gaslighting. Because of the circumstances and the pressure you put on the organization, you're not going to be getting any extra money, or you're not going to be getting this money. Like, listen, I know business speak. This Ryan motherfucker looks like he barely graduated high school. I mean,
Oh yeah,
like, fuck off,
scammers,
dickhead. Like, actually, fuck off. So, like, but this basically boils down to, you guys went public, so we're not paying you, even though you went public about us not paying you, even though we didn't pay you already in advance. I mean, we're just shit cunts, but
sounds like Pulse.
because you guys did this. Now we don't feel incentivized to give you what you're owed. And despite this, though, I really hope we leave on good terms. And then there's this tweet. To clarify, the August paid all players according to their contracts. Okay, so who's wrong, who's right here? I don't give a fuck.
Wait, what?
First of all, this team, I mean, you should already be sus about this team. Do you guys recognize this branding?
I didn't until you guys told me before the show, so look at it now.
Sorry, before Sentinels was formed, Phoenix One was the name of that organization. It was a League of Legends team that actually, and they also operated the Los Angeles Gladiators on a day-to-day basis as well. They rebranded. Now, I don't know if they had a copyright or they owned this branding or anything like that, but what appears to have happened here is this other Phoenix One team has co-opted the branding. Now, for all I know, they could have paid for the rights to use this branding. I sincerely doubt it. If these cunts don't have enough money to pay their players who are in amateur, my language is popping off today. Excuse me. I forget what country I'm in. I forget what country I'm in sometimes. Sorry, this is not getting monetized at all. The algorithm's gonna shit on this video. But if you don't have enough money to pay your players, like, I don't really see how you're going to be obtaining the rights to use that particular branding. So the only reason, there's two reasons that you've done this. One, you want to fool people into thinking that you actually have the capital that an organization like Phoenix One had at the time. You're too lazy to get your own logo and branding, and because the best part is the fucking tagline, boys, is rising from the ashes, implying that there was a previous permutation of this roster, a previous embodiment of Phoenix One. So you're directly implying, by using that tagline, reborn from the ashes, you're directly implying that this fucking this org is directly tied to the actual legitimate real Phoenix One with actual fucking adults instead of Fisher-Price dickheads trying to fucking put round pegs into the fucking square holes. Like, you guys need to fuck off immediately. You need to just get the fuck out of this scene, because this ain't happening. Now, to be fair, sorry to the guys who got scammed. That sucks. You fell for a ruse.
Yeah, but that's the issue right now, is because since the dawn of esports, you've always had like these organizations that pop up and try to like entice you to like, oh yeah, we'll give you a t-shirt, you'll have a free server to practice. I'm talking back in 2003 now, but then you'll have t-shirts, you'll be represented, you'll get a salary and stuff like that too, and then they always disappear. So that's been going on for like the longest time. As much as it is for TOs not paying talent, you have the same thing for players getting scammed. So it's just unfortunate that younger teenagers or younger players, aspiring pros, are falling into this trap. So my question to you guys now is, what is a good way to like make sure that these guys are legit? Is it looking at your peers? Is it talking with other players? Is it a players association? What do we need?
A union or a legitimate franchise? I don't know.
I guess,
how do you fix this?
Well, a union can help.
It's difficult.
Unions don't really help the highest.
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, by the way.
I mean, I think that, like, these young guys don't have their own lawyers. It's fine. I get it. I retain lawyers' services for all this kind of stuff. Right? I think that everyone who can sort of afford it should do that. I mean, you sort of work it out as a cut of what you're paying. So you do have, in theory, you can pay for it. It's just use your proportion of what you're going to get paid anyway. But for this, if this is chump change, then you can't hire a lawyer to do it. Yeah, if you get scammed, if you have take it to a fucking small claims or civil court. You can actually do this, providing that there's not any issues about being in different countries or anything like that. The problem is that in some cases legally this might be prohibitive in terms of the costs. It's just could be too expensive to recoup those
versus
funds.
what you'll get. Yep.
That sucks. We as an industry need to continue to self-police these entities, like Pulse, and we need to continue. We need to remove these bad actors, and if we find out that these motherfuckers creep in under another name, we need to again remove them. This is how you know, communities are able to keep themselves safe is self-policing. There is not a governing body in esports. You know,
It has to be said time and time again. Have someone look over your fucking contracts.
Yep.
There are so many big names, and I'm so sorry for cutting you off, but it's like I have friends that they get ripped off on the daily. Have someone look at your contract. When I had no representation, no agency, I would hit up Timo, Ryan Morrison. I would hit up anyone just for like some type of legal advice on what I should do when I look at a contract. CSA even helped me out when I was even with them. Do that. I'm pretty sure these big names are willing to help you, because if you're a team tier 2, tier 3, you're signing contracts to get with these orgs, they're gonna fucking rob you, and you don't fucking need them. So really, watch your ass. We got your back.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, you can only fuck up once around here. You get one shot if you're an org like that. And if you do this kind of
one
shit,
opportunity,
you can. Yeah, it's seize everything you ever wanted. So let's talk about Bear Claw Gaming really quickly. This actually happened in South Korea, which is a place that I find is a little bit harder to pull this shit off here. But Stephen Kim, sorry, is the manager of a
team horror story.
Bear Claw Gaming. Not bad. Okay, reference go 1 point today. I'm really impressed. So basically, it says our team BCG, Bear Claw Gaming. Now, Planius is the parent company, and they're not paying them. So we're basically saying we haven't been paid since January 2021, which is, you know, right, it's about a month right now. And they're not getting anything. So I don't know if they have accommodation or not. Like if they're on the streets, it's really hard to say. But basically, this is a parent company not providing what they should, and they're basically terminating the contract. There should be clauses in contracts, by the way, that can allow for this kind of termination. It was there with Mambamone Gaming, despite all the nonsense that sort of went on with that. So they just say, okay, we have nothing to do with the company. We don't have a whole lot more information other than that. But this is another situation of a company failing to deliver on their part of the deal. And as you know, the contract that kind of voids the contract. Outside of that, you know, your recourse really depends on the country you're in and how litigation sort of works there. South Korea, I mean, people can get put in jail for match fixing in esports, right? So you know that they actually have infrastructure and sort of legislation in you know, that reaches into the gaming community, and people can be kept accountable for their actions there. So hopefully that is going to be the case, but we don't know too much more about that, and we'll try and keep our eye out for more information as it comes. But
that's what sucks, man. Because even at the higher levels, you could still get fucking screwed, right? Like Veli, I was gonna mention it to you. We mentioned it before going on air. Like Nora Rengo in Japan for Rainbow Six. It's like even if you're almost established and you've made it to like a Rainbow Six Invitational, you're still potentially could get players and managers scammed into it, which fucking sucks to watch, man.
Oh, I woke up this morning to an org that was tier 1 that got bumped down to tier 2, took $50,000 from their players and dipped. They said, "Hey, the org is done," and left with the money.
Wild.
Watch your ass.
For the guys.
Serious money being stolen.
It's still happening as well. Let's move on, Vans.
Yeah.
Because we have a ton of VCT stuff to talk about.
True.
And you know, I'm going to stroke my
Vanity
a little bit. Yeah, and Vanity. So let's talk about skins. I'm going to reset my VMix really quickly. You might want to just throw Vansily on a 1 box right now.
Sure.
But yeah, talk to us about the new skins.
I just want to praise Riot for the latest skins. I think it's like pretty much the most beautiful bundle that I've seen since they've came out with bundles. Probably just because I'm close to like the lunar calendar kind of thing, which is really cool. You have like the year of the ox. It's I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm Asian.
I would say
it's called Celestial, but you have like a nice little logo of the ox in the back, so it really gets into the year of the ox year.
Yeah.
The little meteorites that comes down towards like this.
Dude, the sun moves like, across the sky.
Exactly, man. And then like the tsunami, like what's that famous Japanese painting with the tsunami, right? So that's like a beautiful one too. But the one that I love the most is the fucking fan. I think that is one of the coolest knives that I've ever seen, that even beats the Glitch Pop 2 for me. It beats the Candy Cane with the Easter egg. Props to Riot for the skin, man. I love this bundle. Money well spent, finally.
I mean, listen, I'll be completely honest with you. I have about an hour to 2 hours a week to play Valorant, and most of the time I spend just like trying to warm up my aim and aim level, something similar. I logged on to the game just to buy this skin. Literally, that is all I did. I fuck knows if I'm ever gonna get to use it ever again, but I'm getting it.
Look at that swing though. You have like your third swing that is like a back slap fan open, like bitch take this.
Yeah,
like
bitch slapping with the fan.
I love it.
It's like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the sort of tribe of like warrior priestesses that fight with the fans. You know, like fuck shit up. Like,
yeah, man.
I'm about that.
No,
And
that's
it's-
Kitana. Who's
yeah.
the other one with the fans? Is it Kitana?
It's Katana.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Kyoshi Warriors. Thank you, Tormented by Gnomes. Yeah, they just fuck shit up with fans and shit. They like blow on wind and shit. I don't know. I'm about that. So that's great. We also have so that was released, but at the same time was also another set of skins was released, which is kind of they call little like it feels like a bit of fourth wall
Coming
breaking
soon,
here.
yeah.
We have these like
Whoa.
anime skins. I like that they look there's the plaza here on the left side of the screen is actually I think where these come from. If you look inside, there's like a bunch of anime Funko Pops and there's like a Reyna cutout and stuff. These are really sick. There's like Reyna one, a Killjoy one, a Cypher one.
Jet with the kunais.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's actually a kunai that he has. It looks like her blade storm knife that she's sort of holding in her hand. So the gun buddies as well. This is cool.
Ooh.
I mean, this is just
So
I like
nice.
this.
Yeah, actually, speaking about the gun buddies, the bundle that you have for the Celestial, so the bowl that you get for that one,
Dude.
or the Ox, whatever, I fucking love it. That you shoot and it
Dude.
turns red when you shoot. Oh my god, dude, that was another big highlight. But back to the anime ones, I think this is pretty cool as well. I don't think necessarily I'll buy it because I'm probably going to use the Phantom Celestial.
I'm probably going to try and eat next week after this.
Yeah, that too.
That too.
So
Well, actually,
Yeah,
I need to
true
lose
that.
weight as well, so I might not.
you should
Might be a
still
good
eat,
thing.
bro. You take it from me. Yeah.
So that's why Post tried to help you out, Vance.
Oh.
No,
Very
these
nice.
skins are actually nice. So I have a question. Is there like I don't know if I'm late to the party or just stupid, but it's like is it like a weekly or bi-weekly skin release that they have? Like, or is it just random? They just throw it at us? Because they've been hitting us with hits back to back.
I feel like in an act or an episode, I forgot how you name those, but there's always one that's going to be like a little bit more expensive because of all these moving characters or these moving stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have a second one that comes out that's like just more. There's no variance to it and stuff like that too,
I
right?
like
It's
it.
just like the basic skin, kind of like
I
the
mean,
Prism.
I
and stuff like that.
I think my request for a skin here is a Highland Claymore so that I can stand on the, in the game and be like, you may take my sight, but you can never take my freedom. And like two-handed big. I mean, there's already like what is it? The angelic looking collection has like a rather large, almost like a machete looking knife. I
Yeah.
want a two-handed Claymore. I want to fucking Robert De Bruce some motherfucker from my, you know what I mean?
I feel it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, let's go to a break very briefly because, the real meat and potatoes of the show is coming up after this. When we return, we're going to catch up with Vanity, get some thoughts from him, of course, the new project that he is a part of. And then we have a lot of VCT to talk about. Don't go too far. We'll be back with Valoranting after this. Welcome back to Valoranting, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break. I had a fantastic bathroom break, but enough about that. We have a ton to get through on this side of the break. And without further ado, I want to bring the man in here, someone who's already been recognized for their contributions to the meme sort of function of Valorant in esports, especially North America. But a player who was, played competitive with Counter-Strike at a high level. You were in lineups like
come on, man.
Singularity and E United, of course. It's Vanity, bro. Looking proper cute with them ears, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You look beautiful.
I
How
can't
you
even keep a
doing?
serious face right now. Uber, keep going, dude.
This
Keep
happens at the
going.
beginning of every interview.
This is my favorite
love this
e-girl
guy.
now. Let's go.
I love this
Um,
guy.
Great to have you here, man. Obviously, yeah, like I was sort of mentioning in the intro, and I got rudely interrupted by my peanut gallery co-host. So, you're quite a storied history in Counter-Strike, man. Through Team Singularity, Swole Patrol, everyone remembers that roster. E United, then Chaos, of course. After Steel retired, you sort of stepped in as the IGL. But not so long ago, people got pretty excited because you sort of made a tweet saying, "Yeah, I'm looking to move over to Valorant." Can you maybe talk us through a little bit of that decision? Obviously, is quite a big one to make the move.
Well, my webcam disappeared for me. But I don't know. I was considering switching when this game first came out because I've been playing the same game since I was 15. Well, I mean, I've been playing the Counter-Strike series since I was like 3 years old, so I guess not the exact same, right? But CS:GO, what is wrong with it?
Yeah, I think your internet is ghetto, man. Is he lagging out for anybody else, or is
I think
it-
it's the cat ears, man. I think
No,
it's
the cat
for
ears,
me,
man?
you know?
It's too
It's
much
not my
for the
it's not my
servers.
webcam. It's
Oh,
I mean,
it's
this
my
freeze frame is
mic.
really...
My mic is probably too far from my.
This is a
mouth.
really good picture of you.
Overall,
right now,
though,
Anthony.
the
No.
freeze cam is perfect for this.
is.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no.
so wholesome.
I think
It's very cute.
the main reason, like, I don't know, I've been playing the same map since I was like 15, like, is when I started like consistently playing Counter Strike.
Hmm.
So, and I think there's been 3 meta changes in Counter-Strike since then. Maybe 3. Like, the only 2 the big ones are the SG meta, and then the economy changes are, like, the only 2 updates, I guess, than Vertigo, which is not really a meta change, it's just a map. Like, finally they changed something, right? But, I don't know, it's kinda just boring. 'Cause I came from Call of Duty initially competing, and then they added an age restriction to that. And I was, like, a big fan of, like, I think I'm a relatively fast learner, and I like adapting and, like, stuff like that just 'cause I came from COD, so
Okay. So I actually had a question relating to that too about your switch from CSGO to Valorant. So for you, it's more about how the CSGO wasn't really there to keep you attached to the game in terms of like changing the meta or adding new things. But was there anything about the development of the scene in North America? Was it like more difficult because people kept talking about how tier 1 NA or just NA CSGO was like dying towards the mid end of 2020? Was that one of the things that also affected your decisions?
No, honestly. I had offers to stay in Counter-Strike that I wouldn't really have preferred to, like, stay in with. Like, there was no like, the only offer that I was considering staying in with for was Gen G before they released their roster. 'Cause, my big thing was I wanted to play with the people that I was playing with. I didn't really have interest in playing with most of the players in North America. I think the only player that's still in NACS that I would, like, go out of my way to play with would be OC on Extra Salt. There's not very many people. Like, I don't think these people are, like, bad, but it's just, like, I like playing with people that I'm comfortable with. It's not, like, needed, but if I'm not gonna be getting, like, these paychecks that some of these guys are getting, I'm not gonna stay in, like, a game that I'm not really into anymore.
Mm, mm. So how does that bring you into to Valorant now? Because you're saying that you want to play with people that you're most comfortable with or that you enjoy playing with. So tell us a little bit about the version 1 roster here.
I mean, it came together. Me and Zelsis have always, like, wanted to play together for a long time. We played together for, like, a brief stint on Swole Patrol before he joined Cloud9. We kinda talked to each other. It's kind of funny because, like, when that happened, he was telling me about it, and then I was like, "We both know this isn't gonna go very well, but you can't really say no to Cloud9, right?" He's like, "Yeah." And then the rest is history, right? Like, we transferred to transferred to United. I don't know. That was an interesting experience in itself. It was definitely something I went through.
So how did that come together with Player 1 and FEs into the roster?
When I initially switched, we were planning on switching with my entire CS team minus Leaf because he joined Cloud9, obviously. And then Zeppa got that from Cloud9, and then we tried out Player 1 as our 5th. And we tried out Zelsis, we tried out a bunch of people, and then we tried out, or then Zeppa got the offer from Cloud9, and I was like, "Okay, I don't really wanna try to rebuild with 3 people because I think that'd be too difficult." Like, I kinda wanna play with people that have played the game at like, a relatively high level, and FEs and CL1 have had a pretty moderate success. I mean, they were on the top 5 team for probably a majority of the year until the roster moves, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. You were saying
Sorry about
something?
that. Yeah, I was gonna say, so legitimately, like, even looking at your roster, right? So the 2 biggest matches that, a lot of us have seen of you guys going against FaZe. Now, unfortunately, y'all lost against FaZe, man. Vanity, I expect so much more from you, man. But looking at the way the placements are going in Valorant right now, right? It's everywhere. TSM, 100 Thieves, they didn't even make it to Masters. Like, look at the top 4 right now. It is crazy. What is your thought on the revolving door of top 4 teams in Valorant? And what do you think your team has to do in order to make it there right now? Honestly.
I mean, I think the biggest, like, I don't even think, like, I don't consider these upsets really. It's like, if you come into a new game, the people that weren't relevant before are going to outwork the people who came from, like, success, right? Like, a bunch of these CS pros, I don't know, I feel like most people, like, a lot of them, I'm not saying they are, but it's like, it feels like these teams are just putting in the work, like, people that you haven't heard of as much, right? Like, this XSET team, I think some of them, like, were from, like, random games like Crossfire, like, other things like that. Like, not like, I think the only team that's still that's consistently performed throughout the game who had CS pros is Sentinels. Obviously, 100 Thieves had people switch midway through. Envy's been relatively consistent, but, like, they've had some woes. But it's like these new teams are coming through because they're just simply outworking, it feels like. Obviously, I can't say for sure, but that's what it feels like because it looks like the amount of, like, Valorant I've watched, like, doing watch parties and stuff, these teams have, like, some super interesting stuff compared to, like, the same teams where, like, or, like, the old dog, I guess, like, the established CS pros. It seems like they're, like, trying to just get by on out aiming these people when it's like the abilities or how you be a consistent team in this game rather than just relying on headshotting, which different story. But
Ooh.
I'm glad that you bring that up because
Yeah.
I think there's always a debate. It's just kind of gets a bit old at this point. People sort of talking about the differences from Counter Strike to Valorant. But I'd
Yeah.
like to get your take on it. Maybe how you have adapted. You say you're a quick learner and you'd like to put yourself in a position where you have to adapt. So can you talk us through some of the changes you've had to sort of experience coming to Valorant from CS?
I mean, I think the biggest difference, right? Obviously, the abilities, like the aiming and all that's like similar. The game is pretty similar, like the 5v5 plant and diffuse scenarios. But it's like the abilities. I think the thing that separates like the top level teams, like just in practice, is like their ability, like synergy. I guess. Like if you watch European teams, I haven't watched much Korean Valorant, but I know the European teams have like really, really good like synergy like between their utility and like the abilities. I think that's like I don't think they're better individuals than the NA teams, and I'm not sure they would actually beat the North American teams just because of like the firepower potential difference.
Nice.
Like I can't say for sure. Like you really can't compare until the teams actually play. But like just watching the way the European teams play, it looks a lot more consistent than the way the North American teams play for the most part. Obviously, there's like teams that played more like loose style in Europe, and there's gonna be teams that play more strict in North America. But like on average, the European teams seem to like want to use the abilities a lot more, like synergistically, compared to the North American counterparts. I mean, if you look at Korea, it's like those guys,
They're
they have it.
nuts.
Everyone's running breach.
The Korean abilities are just next level. But I think Europe has some pretty cool ideas too that are worth looking at. That I think, given time, the North American teams will adapt to, because I think that once international competition happens, like I don't think you'll be able to consistently win in this game with shooting just because of how like easy it is to kill people. That makes sense. Like the skill ceiling isn't very high, like aim wise.
Yeah, actually, that brings to an interesting point here going into back in NA, because you talk about stylistic changes, different types of playstyle for regions. But if you're looking at NA in general, you have a team like Immortals or LG that are going to be more loose, more aggressive. You have a team like 100 Thieves that are a little bit more set strat and like more meticulous in their execution. Then you have a team like Sentinels that could kind of do both, that faces off against those two playstyles. You as an IGL, what do you think seems to be the type of right play here in NA?
I mean, we just got into the tier 1 scrim group like last week, so it's hard to say, right? Like we haven't been scrimming like the best team, so
really,
it's pretty hard to say.
You need to be voted in. I heard someone mention.
Yeah. We got voted in like last week or something, but then I didn't have power for the first week, so that was pretty cool.
Should have messaged me. I'm part of that thing.
I don't know. It's hard to say like for sure because I haven't really experienced it firsthand. Like watching, obviously, it looks like the only consistent team in NA is Sentinels. Like you can't make a counter argument.
No.
So they play a big mix of both, which I think is needed. Like I don't think you'll consistently get away with playing one style or the other. You need to be able to understand like the game at like a deeper level, which seems like they do.
We've seen obviously the frenzy and the stinger kind of dominate, especially in like the second round force. Obviously, obviously less than ideal. It's reminiscent of the Tech 9 rush that I think we used to see a little bit in Counter Strike. Do you think these changes are enough to address maybe the issue right now we're having in Valorant with the running and gunning playstyle and how it just sort of throws everything up in the air?
I don't think they're never going to remove running and gunning. That's what I don't understand. Like, it's just not going to happen. They're trying to make a more accessible tactical FPS. The reason Counter-Strike isn't popular among like the common people, right? The game, if you're not good at Counter-Strike, I don't understand how it's enjoyable. That's pretty much like I would like try to get my school friends to play with me, like college friends. It's like, dude, this game, it's just not fun for them. They can't be good. But like in Valorant, there's like, I don't know what, like a handicap, I guess. Probably is like I don't know how to describe it. Like you don't have to invest thousands of hours to like enjoy playing Valorant.
Accessibility.
Yeah.
The accessibility's there. It's more fun with the abilities.
It's the same thing that League did with or Riot did with Dota, right? Like they took like the model and they made it more accessible. And it's just like it's like I don't know. Obviously, like switching to the Stinger and Frenzy. Like I switched to the game as those were meta, so that was pretty fun. Definitely had a lot of fun during my time. Now we're in the Bucky meta. This one's even worse. Just wait till you see this.
Oh God. Bucky Guardian.
Okay, so you sort of say how the skill ceiling maybe is a little bit lower, or the game is more accessible in general. Is it still as satisfying? When you say like you only enjoy Counter Strike if you're really good at it. Is it still satisfying in Valorant to when you feel like you really have success despite it being more accessible? Do you still get that same rush of when things start to click? Do you feel?
Oh yeah, for sure. I honestly enjoy this. Like, I think this game obviously maybe it's because I played Counter Strike for so long, but I like competing in this game more just because there's so much going on,
Hmm.
and I don't know, I like constant action. It's
Mhm.
very weird. I like chaos. Like I always like the chaotic like scenarios in CS, and I think this game kind of provides that. But
Super chaotic.
I
I
don't know.
mean, I like that you bring this up because you've IGL'd in Counter Strike and now in
Yeah.
Valorant, and you mentioned how it's so different. But can you maybe like for some of those who don't know how IGLing maybe works, especially in Valorant, can you talk us about like how is it different for you having to IGL in a game that's got so much more going on, as you put it?
I think the biggest difference in CS and Valorant IGLing is in Valorant you can't really have one IGL because of how like much stuff goes on.
Mm.
In CS, I think it was a lot easier. Like pretty much, if you don't have like three, maybe this is wrong, but I feel like you need like like pretty much everyone has to give input in this game. Whereas in CS, you could get away with only like 2 people giving like consistent input. But in this game, it's just like there's so many abilities, so many things you need to keep track of, so many like Sova's use shock darts, Sova uses recon, Cypher, like you break their trips, like those are like important pieces of info, and if those aren't communicated, it's kind of hard to IGL, right? So I think that's kind of what separates a lot of these teams in a way, and I think that's what makes this game a lot more, I don't know, engaging as an IGL, I guess, because I
Mhm,
feel like in
mhm,
CS, there's a right way to play and there's a wrong way to play. The only team that's ever challenged the meta was Furia, and obviously they've done a pretty good job at it. I like playing like that, but it's just for another day. But
So who are the vocal ones then? If you're talking about three IGL-ish players, so would it be FEs and Zelsis? And
yeah,
when do they speak? What do they bring into the play style when you're in a round specifically?
I mean, all 5 of us talk a fair amount. Like, it's not just me,
Mhm.
Jordan, and Effie's. But I would
Okay.
say that we're probably the 3 most vocal. But it's like if people see an opportunity, they like will they'll like ask. It's the same thing in CS, right? Like you see something, you want to do it. Like, oh, I think we should do this, and it's like a yes or no from me essentially.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
I think probably Effie's is probably the most consistent secondary IGL. I think he gives the best ideas for the most part a lot of the time.
Mhm.
Obviously, like everyone has their like good calls and stuff.
So we're heading into the, obviously, VCT number 3, Challengers 3 pretty soon. And looking at the bracket, you guys looks like to get out of the round of 32, you'd have to play against Dignitas. So, I mean, what are your guys' expectations, for yourselves now? Because it's a very new team, but
Exactly.
you have the
Yeah.
kind of challenge of like being plonked right in the middle of really important competition. So, I guess maybe you could talk about your expectations for you guys going forward, and also what you expect to see from some of the other teams, like who maybe you expect to see qualify for Masters in this next batch of teams.
I mean, expectations for ourselves would obviously ideally be to qualify. Obviously, we have to take down Dignitas and TSM throughout the path, or that's who. Like, if matchups go as they should, it should be
Mhm.
something similar to that, which I don't think is completely unrealistic. I think this game is pretty like day to day, like for the most part. I think especially like at this current time, seems to look pretty shaky. I don't know. I think Dignitas has people as like they just picked up Ryan, who's been playing even shorter than I have, which I think I don't know. I always beat Ryan in CS, so it'd probably be the same in this game.
Chaos and triumph.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I expect to make it out. If we won't get it out, it's not super disappointing, right? Like, TSM's
Mhm.
been playing this game for almost a year at this point, and I have been playing 2.5 months, 2 months maybe. Same thing with Penny. He's also switched like 4 months, or like a few months before me. So it's like, yeah, we want to make it, but it's not the end of the world if we don't. It's like getting the match experience that these guys have because they've played like probably hundreds of matches, and I've played like 12, I think.
That brings a
Actually,
question. That brings a
yeah.
question to me. So Vanity, with that being said, there seems to be like no sudden urgency to be the best and be a championship, type of team, right? We all know that this year is basically like it's a COVID year, right? Like literally, to me, it looks like this whole Masters year is for COVID. Whatever, just to get the competition rolling, put money in your pockets, and have good content.
Yeah.
For a lot of teams out there that we talk about or other people see out there, do they have the same type of mindset for just getting ready for next year? Like, is there a big urgency for like the majority of the teams or just a select few?
I genuinely have no clue. I don't know. I've never been like
Okay.
super results oriented
Okay.
in like my teams in the past, so it's like I really can't be disappointed regardless of the result as long as it feels like if people aren't trying, feels like people aren't trying, and that's like when I get
Okay.
frustrated. But like as long as we're trying, if we lose, it doesn't really matter. Like we're putting in the effort. Like you really can't ask for much more.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
I want to bring the curveball actually when you're talking about the switches and how long you've been playing and stuff like that too. And I want to talk about rosters from outside of version 1. So the first one being automatic, right? So automatic is probably the biggest, hottest news from CSGO switching over to Valorant. I'm pretty sure you had a chance to watch T1 play as well, and you knowing Curry pretty closely for playing against him or with him as well in CSGO. What are your thoughts about how T1 looks like so far?
I have no clue, honestly. We scrim them. They look pretty good in scrims, but at the end of the day, it's just practice, right? And you have to show up in the matches.
Do you think like somebody like automatic needs a little bit more time to actually be in like how much time does he need to be able to be at that top form that he would be in CSGO, knowing like, you know, if you have to practice the game that much?
Yeah. I have Tim added and I see him on a lot, so I mean I don't think it's just like an acclimation period, right? He's been playing way shorter than I have. Obviously, I think he played throughout his time playing CS, whereas I only touched the game in the beta, so maybe he'll adapt a little bit faster. But I mean Tim should be fine. He has a good work ethic, pretty good teammate from what I've heard. I really haven't heard much bad about him. I think he should be fine. I don't know. Obviously, I wouldn't expect like super insane like statistical performances from him, just because there's so much like, even if you see things in scrims, it's not the same as what people do in matches. It's pretty crazy difference. But
You're right.
Like abilities and stuff, like people hide like these. It's pretty insane. So I think it's like an acclimation period. But I don't know, 2 to 3 months realistically, maybe a little longer. It just depends how hard he works. But literally every time I'm on, I see Tim on, so I would have high expectations for him.
Awesome.
Moving on a little bit.
I
just want to give a quick update right now. So you guys have been wondering what the hell Uber's been looking at. Uber's power,
I was like, is he looking at brackets?
Uber's power has been lost in his house. I mean, we should meme this and like the best caption wins like $5 in the chat, right? But right, chat. Actually, you know what? Meme it. What is Uber looking at, right? But moving forward, Vanity, to kind of bring this interview along more. So Masters is coming. There's a best of 5 today. We've seen what's been happening with the VCTs, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to take Masters, man? Give me that bold prediction. Let me know how you really feel.
Is it NV Sentinels, right?
NV Sentinels, yeah. But I mean, this one, okay, so this one, this match, I don't really expect much because they're not going to show much. But when it comes to Masters, we know what the 4 teams are. What do you think is the best looking in that?
I mean, it's got to be NV Sentinels.
NV Sentinels, yeah? Okay.
I don't know who you... I haven't paid attention, but I think Envy might have an advantage because I think Envy plays all 5 maps. Maybe I'm wrong. And Sentinels doesn't typically play bind. Like I could be wrong. I don't know for sure, but I think I've seen Envy play all 5 maps, which gives them an advantage in a BO5, obviously, if there's not a map advantage, which I don't believe there is. And I could be wrong. There might be a map advantage, but
I feel like they cut a bit more Haven than the other 4 maps. But I do feel, even after watching like
they've played Haven, right? Like they have,
yeah.
And I don't know how much. I don't think I've ever watched Sentinels play blind. Obviously, they've probably played it, but I have never seen it personally because I've been watching very long.
Right.
So we always talk about deep map pool. I feel
if it's
the
that BO5, I mean, you kind of have to favor Envy just because they play the other map more consistently. But I mean, I don't know. Envy looked really good in their last batch, but obviously that was the first time they've ever beat Sentinels, so I don't know if that's like a consistent thing, which I think I really don't know who to pick, honestly. A BO5, I would say Envy, but in a BO3, it's like whoever's feeling it that day. I don't know.
Well, what's your take on Immortals in LG then? Because, you know, everybody's now saying, like, don't sleep on the Immortals, don't sleep on the LG. What are your thoughts of their development in 2021?
I mean, it's funny enough. I was actually in talks with both of these teams.
Ooh.
But
give us some spice.
I don't know. I think
go to beans, man.
I think I mean, they're both really good teams, right? Like, I think that the LG core in itself was like really, really talented. They were one of the better cores even without the results in the beginning of this game. And then they picked up 2 really talented players, which just like propels them really far. Same thing with LG. Sorry, I think they have a really talented core also. It's like they just needed like pieces that fit with them.
Yeah. So Vans, before we have Anthony pretty much, you know, say what he has to say to the chat before he leaves, are there any final questions you want to ask him? Because I'm going to be real.
Yeah.
Rockers creating version 1 and coming to Valorant has been a big move. I'm really expecting big things. But yeah, Vans, what was the last thing you wanted to throw out there?
I think I wanted to try something new in like our segments with the interviews as well. And especially now that we have Anthony on as an IGL, I wanted to discuss like one of the plays. I think it's looking back at Immortals' matchup versus Sentinels. One thing that was very surprising for me is the fact that Immortals brought in Sova, right? So Gangsta started playing that agent on Split. And I wanted to know your thoughts, Vanity, because when you're looking at that matchup overall, at least on defense, he was playing towards the A side a lot to try to counter Dapper with the Cypher. And what are your thoughts first with Sova being in the lineup?
I mean, we scrimmed some team that it wasn't Immortals that played it, so I don't really remember, but someone tried it against us, and I just don't know how consistent his darts are because of the amount of like heat. Like, there's just so much on the map to hide behind, right? Like, it's really hard to get darts that are gonna scan the things. I think that's the main reason he's not played, and his ults aren't very strong on this map because of the elevation changes. But I mean, I didn't get to watch the match, so I have no clue how impactful it actually was.
Yeah, actually, you're right about that one because there was at one point where Gangsta, I think, was trying to ult.
It's very difficult to ult on this map. I've played I've played Sova and ranked on this map just like for fun, and like it's just there's so many like little elevation changes that are bigger than you'd think they are.
Yeah. And that's the example. It's like he was trying to ult from sewers into ropes, and as soon as Sick went onto the ropes and vents, it was like all 3 shots missed right after, even though like the corridor is so small in there.
Yeah.
But looking at this play itself, just to give you an idea, I guess if you haven't really watched the game, is to look at the play once it's going to replay. So what they kind of did here was that they utilized Gangsta's Owl Drone to actually tag Shazam on the top of Heaven. Right, so that's the jet and blue.
Yeah.
So once he gets tagged, he falls back while the smokes are also coming into the site. And I do like the fact that you tag the jet because now when you turn into the A main, you kind of eliminate the fact that you want to guess, is it going to be on the top of the rafters or inside hell by the pot? So that cancels that. The second one is the dart is thrown right by elbow. So that could actually ping out any players that is running through the smoke so they know if the Sentinels are going to pressure back. And at the same time, you saw the paranoia into the A main that tries to hit Zoms. And then the dash comes in from the jet in order to, from Chemicals, to try to add that pressure, right? That quote unquote flash and dash, which the flash came from the paranoia on the right side. So the hit itself was actually pretty nice. In the end, they still lost the round because they just couldn't kill Zoms at elbow.
You know why, right? It's Sova, man. They relied heavily on Sova's dart right there, baby. So we saw when that smoke came out from Omen, right? Uber kills me with his face though. I'm gonna make
it's actually hilarious.
Right. When the dart came out towards elbow, so it wasn't the Omen that was right there. It was basically Raze. Raze popped out that smoke, surprise, motherfucker. She got clapped immediately. So off the top, they're like, okay, that's elbow. Elbow is dead. And what happened? The elbow player gets a 3K. Or was it a 4K to win a round? That's the way I took it, fans.
I just think, I think there's too many corridors that you can get in and out of for the darts to be effective on this map.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he has some stuff that we've never seen, but I just like in my head, just looking at it, it's like, even if you think you scan an area, it's so fast to get out compared to the other maps. It's like everything is so close quarters on this map compared to like the other maps where there's like open areas where people will be standing in and anchoring in.
Yeah.
It's like even on both bomb sites, right? Like there's the entire pillar to dodge around. There's even a new, like the new box on B site that you can also use to dodge that wasn't there before. So maybe like it just, there's so many like weird, I don't know what to call, like just off angles, I guess. Or like,
yeah.
It's just like so many spots that I think you could hide from the darts. I mean, obviously I haven't watched theirs, like tried it, but I think there's a reason that people typically don't run Sova on Split. And I think one of the reasons is he probably has the strongest ult in the game, and his ult is pretty weak on this map.
Yeah, again, because of the elevation. Although there are some good darts from Sova on that map that I saw in rank. You could kind of throw double shock darts from Ramen into the top of B Heaven to try to stop that kind of camping pressure. But again, you have to guess because those guys could be playing mail and stuff like that too. So I do understand that. What would have been actually the better part to use against that lineup of Sentinels, knowing how they play?
I sometimes run the same lineup on that map, right?
Yes, every time they play this split map, it's like the Raze Sage combo towards that B main that seems to have a lot of good effect there into the B control.
I don't even remember what they used to run. Sage, I think Sage is pretty strong on this map. Sage or Breach.
Yep.
I don't know. I think it's really hard to deal with Sages if you don't have like something to counteract it with like a faster play, which I don't know if Sova provides.
By the
I
way,
think dealing
to Sage
Raze is hard to deal with annoying either way. Doesn't matter what your comp is. That synergy in Heaven is really obnoxious.
That was really bad. But Vanity, man, so far it's been good. We're gonna try to wrap this show up before VCT starts, but this interview has been fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say to the viewers out there? We actually hit 100 viewers, which is pretty cool, man.
Hey,
So
what's up,
you-
chat?
No,
They all came
chat
for you,
loves
Vanity.
by the way, Vanity, they literally all came for you. If it wasn't for you, we'd have like 3 viewers. So
We're dropping to 20 as soon as you leave, so you can always stay if you want.
any love you want to show to the people out there, man. See, look at the chat, man. They're going crazy. There you
MCE.
go.
See, legend.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I don't know. Get the support. Hopefully, we can get some results in the future.
All
For
right.
sure, man. Good luck with that, Vanity. Hopefully we'll see you guys play versus Dignitas, and then eventually, hopefully, the TSM into the brackets. I'm pretty sure that's going to be one of the matches that would be the hot ones to look out for. That will probably be streamed. So I'm looking forward to see you guys' development in the team.
Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
No problem, man. Looking forward to seeing
Thank
you
you,
measure
man.
snow again soon, too, man. You take it easy, Vanity. Thanks for coming by, all right? You take it easy.
You too. See you guys.
Peace, brother.
I love the cat ears. Yeah, by the way, that is a real picture from Vanity. I saw him do it. But Vans, right now, baby, it's just me and you. You know what I'm saying? It's the other side of the desk from First Strike. We're gonna
Hell
keep
yeah.
over here just for fun. But EU VCT number 2. It was actually crazy. Now, me personally, I call it one really important match. Vans, when it comes to EU VCT, and you're
Yeah.
looking at this bracket right now, the teams that advance going to Masters, what really sticks out to you? And by the way, seeing OG there is just so sexy. But
Yeah, man.
mean, this
seeing
is
seeing
crazy.
OG and like Dota, and then them coming into CS:GO, and then now seeing them coming into Valorant, it's just beautiful to see like how they're spreading across into different esports and really putting a name in there. So big shout out to Red Bull to be able to support such a big organization. And yeah, the first hand when you're looking at this, no G2, no Liquid,
2-0.
still after Challengers 2. That's insane. Yeah, a 2-0 versus Ninjas in Pajamas. So it shows how
Yeah.
much existence, or shit, I forgot the new name that he uses, but how much of an impact Nip has he's been on Nip, and how they've developed so well in a short amount of time, where now the top teams in the beta days are now struggling. And that's the same thing that we're seeing at NA right now. People that are that want it more, that's been practicing more, that's been playing it more, and trying to find that synergy, definitely comes out on top at this point.
I think it's actually really good for Europe for the simple fact that now that we're going into Masters for the first time, Europe finally has drama. Now, I'm sorry, G2 losing that first time, that type of drama was some mid, okay? But now that they got 2-0'd, they're not making it in right now. You have Fun Plus Phoenix putting on a great showing, OG not making it. The competition has definitely risen, but I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Fun Plus Phoenix. Now, earlier on when I first joined this show, and you know what? I'm not going to lie, I fangirled a little bit. I said it out loud. When FPX had their first good game against G2 and Liquid, I said, FPX is going to be the best in Europe. In Sideshow, he nodded his head yes. And inside, I'm a Sideshow fan, right? I was like, yes. He agrees with me. And he says, yeah, but not right now, Belly. And then my whole world went crashing down in front of me. But Fun Plus Phoenix against Fnatic was such a phenomenal game. If you guys didn't watch it, make sure you do. Watching them play on Haven was beautiful. It was poetry in motion. I love how European teams utilize utility, especially compared to NA, right, Vans? There was a retake I saw from Fun Plus Phoenix, which was different to me. It showed that they evolved. Back then, when I stand for FPX, they were individual powerhouses. You know, you see Zipon moving in the site, killing everybody and whatnot. Now, you see multiple slow orbs thrown. You have Sova Darts coming in to stop him as they try to get out the slow orbs. Their utility play has been so much better lately. And when you put that hand in hand when it comes to their individual prowess, I think FPX, man, with EU being wide open, I mean, Vans, I'm still going to hold on to what I said back then. This team is going to be special, and I think they're going to do well. But the one thing I want in EU is for them to pop off and not hide that they think, and I'm not talking about just FPX, I'm talking about any team out there, that they think they're the best, that they're better, and that G2 aren't the kings of EU anymore. I think that's a conversation that has to go on.
Yeah, I mean, when you're asking to anybody in the scene right now, pros, analysts, streamers, people who really follow the scene, you could sort of debate and start to figure out, okay, number one in Korea, Vision Strikers, number one in NA, arguably Sentinels. And then you're going to the question, who would be your top team in Europe? there is no answer for that right now. Potentially here, FPX, as you were mentioning before here, Veli, but overall, it's definitely a tough debate to have. Everybody's catching up. That gap is narrowing down. And when you're looking at Challengers 3 coming up, there's still like out of 4 teams that are available. Now I'm thinking about 5 teams now here. OG, Liquid, G2, Guild. What's another one?
You have a
Fnatic,
lot of good teams. Yeah, Fnatic
right?
didn't make
so
it.
That's already 5 teams still that hasn't made it into Masters for Europe. And when you're looking at the clashes going into these matches that are going to get into qualifications for Masters, I remember Sliggy, the coach of Liquid, was saying, I have the hottest feeling that it's going to be a G2 and Liquid matchup to qualify for Masters. I hope not. I think it's going to be heartbreaking to watch that matchup go head to head. But you know what? It's going to be a tough one for Challengers 3. You wish you made it in the first 2. Because now, again, like I said, there's a new patch out now. The meta is going to change. You got to think some things out. What do you think, Uber?
Oh, he's thinking right now. This is thinking face.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. You should put like a text box in front of him. Wait, can you do an Australian accent? Crikey, right?
No, I don't want to do it. We have our algorithms to still be saved here for YouTube stuff.
No, it's all right. So the question has to be asked, man, silly. What does it mean? Is the EU VCT3 coming before the NA VCT3, or
I think
the other way around?
Okay, I think Tuesday's already coming, like next week or so, where they're currently going into the qualifier. So I think they're always like 1 or 2 days before actually the NA one, because they always start earlier and they seem to finish earlier. But I guess this time was because of the Texas issues, unfortunately. And then the Masters weekend qualifiers usually all happens at once for the same weekend.
Now, Vance, let me ask you this question: what happens? What's going to be the conversation if G2 and Liquid don't make it for a 3rd time in a row?
Man,
that's realistic, man. It's realistic.
That's super realistic. For G2, I don't know, man. They just brought in Zeke right into that roster. So I think there's still a moment of adaptability, but there's also that past rumor as well. When people were saying that David P was going to get dropped, there was also rumors that it was going to be Pith. I do not wish that upon Pith, but that could also be like a conversation to see what drastic changes do we need now for G2 to get that performance again, which is going to be the same thing for Liquid. I mean, they've been trying for the longest and hardest time, although they have definitely have had some improvements in 2020. We talked about how Soulcast had a very great game and series in tournament for the Red Bull home ground tournament. But then after that, when you're looking at the qualifiers, he was missing that spark too. And again, it's not to talk about Soulcast, it's just to figure out what can he do this time as a unit, as a team, to be able to fight. Because Sliggy was saying, like, we felt like we were the best team in the world on Icebox, and they got spanked like 13-1. So there's still some areas to learn and to develop for this team. But when is it going to be too late? Hopefully, it's not going to be after Challengers 3. I mean, you still have Masters 2 and 3, right? So
when is it going to be too late? And I think that's a fair question to ask. So it's going to be Heretics, Fun Plus Phoenix, Ninjas in Pajamas, and Alliance. They're going to move on to Masters, VCT3.
Shout out to Mitch and to Banks for Alliance moving forward, by the way.
Oh, my God. Mitch and Banks. They did what Monty tried to do, right? And
with Renegades,
they're killing it, man.
Yep,
wait. Did I confuse names? Wait. Who's the Cloud9 guy again? Nah, not Monty. I'm thinking of Henry. Yes.
Oh, Henry G.
Yes. They made a roster. That's killing it, man. You love to see it. So shout out to those teams. But let's talk about the better region. Let's talk about the region with the real storylines. Let's talk about the region that actually matters here. Okay.
Yep.
NA, Vancilli, you and Uber had the privilege to commentate over it. By the way, you guys are fucking amazing, man. But
thanks, man.
It has been crazy. We had 4 teams advance. It's gonna be Sentinels, Immortals, Envy, and XSET. This was not the bracket that I would have ever imagined in my head. But let's talk about the glaring issue first. 100 Thieves, man. This is a team that won first strike. Still came into the scene, brought in his boy Nitro. They've been banging out. They're champions. They did not make it. They fell. What did you see from this roster?
I don't know, man. I didn't see the 100 Thieves that I was used to seeing overall, because when you're looking at 100 Thieves, when they came back into the open qualifier, it was like 2-0 across the board.
Yeah.
They get into their first best out of 3. They've won the first map 13-6 on Ascent and looked very good, actually, on a map where LG is supposed to be very good on. 100 Thieves look definitely much better in terms of that gameplay. I was like, okay, well, it's the 100 Thieves that we know, the first strike 100 Thieves. Then we get into the other 2 matches. It gets 13-10 onto Icebox, and they even lose Bind on top of that. And I thought for me, it was because LG threw like a rabbit out of the hat and then had Stellar switch out from like Omen to play Sage.
Yeah.
And then he just did such a great job containing Hookah versus Asuna as the Raze into that B site. And there was no answer that 100 Thieves had going into that matchup, and LG just looked very, very good. But then on the other hand, you think about LG when they play Bind versus Immortals and they play Bind later on, they still struggled having Sage in there. But back on 100 Thieves, man, it's just demoralizing.
Their chemistry was off, man.
Watch.
You know what it was, Vance? Their synergy was so off. So I watched the first map that he played against LG, right? Then I was busy. But then I saw 100 Thieves versus Sentinels. Holy shit. Holy shit. That was not the game that I imagined between these two teams, right? Especially with the blood between them. I was watching Haven, and 100 Thieves first strike on Haven were very methodical. They were adaptable. They had so many ideas when it came to strategies and agent synergy when it came to their abilities. We didn't see any of that. We saw them constantly getting flanked on C. We saw misfights. It wasn't there. Like, I remember, I actually put it down on my notes. It was so painful to watch. It was Zom's flanking Dicey and Austin on C-Long when no one was watching flank. And when you watch that round over again, it was like everyone was looking C-Long, waiting for one side of the attack. They knew people were coming from the flank. They all turned their backs. That's very 100 Thieves like. They weren't winning a lot of their 1v1s. We love to see Hiko, the clutch god, but that wasn't the answer there. So 100 Thieves, they fell. Let's be honest. The practice wasn't what they wanted. Yeah, a player that had a baby. So you can imagine there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, right? But they have another chance. I think they're going to make it. I don't think we stress too much about that. But also, let's talk about the other teams. Which, at what point in time do you take a look at Envy? And I saw that tweet you made, Van Silly. Envy, they're going to be in the finals facing off against Immortals. And I don't want to get hate from this. I don't want to get hate from this at all. I love Envy to death. Mame is probably one of my favorite players, right?
Yeah.
At what point do we call their tournament play in seeding matches big scrim energy compared to what we know that they're capable of doing in the real tournaments? It's always like we see them as the absolute best when it comes to these scenarios. But then when the big game comes around, they miss out. What do you think is going on?
So far, if you think about the big games, though, like one of the biggest game of this tournament for Envy was to try to qualify, right? That was the goal. And they actually had to play versus Sentinels to try to qualify. A team that they've lost time. Oh, I was going to do it. I never do it in a broadcast, but I was going to do it on this podcast or this show. But every single time that they've played Sentinels, they lost, right? 0-8.
You're right.
So when you're looking at this matchup again, it's like, oh my God, it's the biggest and toughest obstacle that they have to surpass to try to beat Sentinels to try to qualify. And look at that. They actually did. And I feel that they went to their winning ways. Yes, putting Crashes here as Sky, that is something that they've used in the past. But when you're looking at other maps too, when you have Mummy coming back now as an Omen operator, instead of trying to switch things out with using a different agent or a different agent composition, they went back to their winning ways of what looked pretty strong in terms of their fighting capabilities. Because when you actually had to put Mummy on a Jet Op instead, you had to switch Food out or Caboose out into an Omen, and it kind of broke the synergy of what it looked like for Envy. Food as back-end Phoenix on certain maps was the Food that we know. Crashes is landing shots left and right as the initiator, and then Caboose is in his element, and you also as an Omen, and then or even Mummy, is in his element as a Mummy as a Omen operator, and it's worked out very well for Envy. Now, I think this is going to be the Envy that we love and know once they're going to be able to pass Masters and qualify for the Champions Tour. I think that's where it's like, okay, it's nice to see them come back. Can they continue their form? The Masters is the biggest test.
I don't want to be that guy, but it's like I think that we all collectively love Envy. We all collectively know that Envy can win an event. We're just waiting for it to happen. I see Simo in the chat. He's saying, I don't think any VCT event is big scrim energy because there's 50K on the line. Simo, you know damn well what I mean by that, okay? I'm not thinking about the money. I'm thinking about seeding tournament versus champion tournament, okay? And there's a big difference with that. And I like what Envy does. It's just that we're waiting to see that happen in the big tournament. But let's talk about another team. You've heard me say it before, Van Silly. When Sentinels they weren't struggling, but they were having a lot of off games, right? I said time and time again, shout out to the Tormented, right? I said they need to wake up. They need to realize who they are. They need to realize they're a championship caliber team. And I don't see that from them right now. But they need to do it starting with the VCT. They have been popping off, and Sick has been the star of the show.
Yeah. Overall, when you're thinking about Sentinels, yes, they may be lost to Envy, but overall, I mean, look at it, Veli. They still made it to the grand finals happening today in 30 minutes, right? So they are still that #1 team. Even if they fell short in the upper bracket semifinals, they still had a great performance overall. And this is a thing about Sentinels. When I was watching every single one of their matches, the timing individually that these players have, right? I'm talking about Dapper. I'm talking about Sick. I'm talking about Sinatra. These guys are just able to wide swing and get the shots and surprise their opponents for like 1 kills, 2 kills, and turns like a 5 versus 3 back into their favor. And then Sick comes with a fucking res, and then boom, they just win the fucking rounds. Like there's something about Sentinels that you cannot teach when you're actually practicing as much as you can as a 5-team core for any team. You need to still have that game sense and individualistic playstyle and talent. And 3 players that I just mentioned before have that. And Dapper's flanks have been amazing, but just Sick. The timing that they're able to play is into these rounds is just so good and so beautiful to watch.
The fair part to say about their success, I really feel like it comes because Sentinels, and I will go on the record saying this, they have the widest depth of variety and versatility on that roster, especially in NA. And there's no comparison to it, man.
No. Because it's not only by playstyle, Veli, it's also the amount of agents that all of these players are able to play. At least those 2 players out of the 5, right?
Sick.
Exactly. Like those guys overall, like the depth that they have for the agent pool, which also adds to the depth that they have in their strategies, which also adds to the depth of their map pool. Yeah. Because even going into the VCTs, and we have the conversation of like, oh, well, every time we now watch Sentinels play and there's Icebox and Ascent in the map pool, you're still scared for Sentinels where they could get upset. But when Shazam said, look, we're starting to understand how to play versus certain teams, look at those results right after. Yeah. Look at when they played versus Immortals in the lower bracket finals, right? It was very one-sided.
Very one-sided. And also I want to throw out there, Sick was the highest rated player on the Spike.gg at a 1.37. He had the second highest combat score. He was behind Food. That is a big accomplishment, right?
Yeah.
He was in front of BCJ. BCJ, by the way, he led everyone when it came to KD. We're talking about Sick, a player that you just said was healing people. He was reviving people. Yep. He plays every single role, and he's able to keep up that type of consistency. Sentinels open up a can of whoop ass, and I feel sorry for anyone who's going to be in their way when it comes to Masters. But Vans, I wasn't here last week. You and the boys had a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. I tuned in. I watched a little bit of it, what I could, right? And you all had some predictions. The way top 4 turned out for DCC compared to what you got now, I'm going to need you to explain what's going on, all right?
Yeah, so first off, chat, make sure you guys hit ! YouTube so you get to watch at least a VOD of last week in terms of the Masters predictions, because I had Envy in there. I was like, okay, agreed to disagree, but I have Envy in that lineup. Although, I did have 100 Thieves and I did have Genji. So, we're kind of right in like... Sorry, I had Genji in there just because they were looking so good looking at the open qualifiers when they made it into closed qualifiers. Like they just looked amazing at that point. But overall, yes, we were definitely very wrong for 100 Thieves, but how can you bet against 100 Thieves not making it when they won first strike?
That's insane. Honestly, anybody that bet money about 400 Thieves losing a Luminosity, yo, That is insane. That's something I
Channel
didn't
points.
see.
Let's call them channel points.
Channel points. Now, I have to ask this. I see LG on this list. Is this the Veli influence, or do you guys actually not sleep on Luminosity now?
That was the Ryan Central influence of not sleeping on LG and Immortal. So like we were like, okay, fine, whatever you want, Ryan. You don't come onto the show every week, so we'll let you have it. So we went with the LG and Immortals on top of that too. But like I said, man, my top three, outside of the fourth one that was hard to predict, was Sentinels, 100 Thieves, and Envy. The fourth one was like impossible for me to try to guess the right one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, so for the viewers out there, I know you guys used to seeing VALORANTING. After this stream, we're going to take a small break, and we're actually going to have a watch party. We're going to have a watch party to watch the grand finals. It's going to be a best of 5. It's going to be Sean Garris and DDK casting it, right?
Yep. Sean Garris and DDK, man, fucking killing it.
Oh, so we're going to watch the finale of this bracket right before your eyes. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be me, Van Silly. We're going to bring in some guests as well. I actually spoke to Casey. I forgot to tell you, Van Silly, the coach for E United. He actually might want to swing on by and talk with us and break down what's going on.
Cool.
The screen in front of us. But, fans, with all that being said, right now, I'm going to want a prediction. Who do you think is going to win this best of 5?
Envy.
Envy. Okay, I'm actually going for Envy too. But this, I feel actually really bad because I know Uber was excited to talk about everything here. He's still looking at caster rates right on his wall right there. For, what's been going on. But me right now. Oh, he's been tweeting? Oh,
well, of course. I mean, you lose your internet
guy.
at home, but you still have a cell phone. Oh,
Yo,
that's awesome.
Shout out to my foreign brother out there with no power. Hopefully he gets some soon. The Polar Vortex got him. But ladies and gentlemen, today has been it has been fun as hell. Uber lagged out, but we still kept up the energy. I'm going to give a big shout out to Vanity, Do Not Peak Production. All of you for showing up so far, but I will say this. If I don't see you guys in here for that watch party, none of you are real ones, okay? So hopefully we see you guys there. We're going to have guests. It's going to be fun. I'm Veli. Uber, he was here. He will see you guys next week as well. Van Silly, any last words you want to say to the crowd before we leave for about a good 20 minutes and come back for the watch party?
Well, here's the thing. So I think right now the timer has already started on the main stream, right, for 20 minutes. So I think we could still make like a 1 to 5 minute break just so that people don't have to wait too long.
Oh, let's do it then.
And then we'll just hop on, shoot the shit, interact with the chat, and then count down until we get into the live party. So or the live grand final. So let's do that.
Okay. So wait. So break now or break later?
We'll take we'll just gotta have to give time for production to switch over to our 2 box in the play. So we'll break now, and then we'll come back very soon to be able to do the countdown before we get into the grand finals.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. No, we are not done yet. We have a watch party right after this. We're gonna go on a short break to give production some time to get something to eat, use the bathroom, do whatever they have to do. But we'll see you guys for the watch party. Thanks again for tuning in to VALORANTING. We'll see you guys next week. Not the same time, but at the same place. We're going to have it 1 hour later. We had an earlier episode this time around for the grand finals. So see you guys next time.
Peace, homies.